Good evening, my friends. We have a very wet midsummer evening here in Germany. And I wanted to make a video regarding the 3D pop again, titled Chasing the 3D pop. And I collected some questions that I got regarding this topic. And in this video, I want to answer 10 questions. I wrote down 10 questions about the 3D pop, and maybe it answers questions you might have regarding this topic. So let us start. First question: what exactly is 3D pop in the context of lenses or image rendering, and how would I describe it to someone who's never heard it before? That's a good question, and it's relatively complex question too. Thanks for asking. How would I describe it to someone who has never heard of it before? I would ask, have you ever seen pictures that seemed more true to life than others? Have you ever seen pictures where you thought, well, they got a beauty to them that you could not really describe? You just see the picture and you see the picture is different than other pictures. They are more lively. They are more beautiful. You feel the image, you feel the situation, you see that this is something that you would see with your own eyes. It looks so realistic. This is what 3D pop is for me. But it might as well be that this effect is also provided by large sensors like medium format. But I think this is also a form of 3D pop. And also in this question was the context of lenses or image rendering. So 3D pop in the context of lenses or image rendering is that there has to be a tonality and dimensionality in the lens, by the lens and the sensor, so that you can achieve this effect that I described before. So to answer this, it is how the lens renders micro contrast and dimensionality. And there are some lenses that do it better, others they are too clinical and they will erase this effect. They are faster, and they are sharper, and they are more contrasty. But these micro contrasts, they are what makes the 3D pop. Next question: what made me interested in achieving 3D pop effect in my pictures or videos? Was there a particular image or video that caught my eye? Okay, well, what made me interested in this effect was when I saw the pictures that I took with analog medium format cameras, with my first analog medium format camera, the RB67. When I saw these pictures, they were so true to life, and I could not describe why they felt so good. They felt so, well, almost like someone took the slide and wrapped it around the subject that was photographed. That's how I described it. It was like the film was wrapping around. You could see it from all angles. It was like you were able to look past the subject to look what's behind it. And that made me wonder, why do my digital images do not look like that? And then I shot Aqua from 1924 or Balda from 1930s somewhat, and I had the same effect, even more. And I tried to figure out why it could not be the case, because everything is two-dimensional, right? And so it could not be. And then I looked for old large format pictures, and there were some of Indian people, like the Indians, you know. And these pictures, they were so unbelievably true to life. I could not believe what I saw. It was almost like the picture was, I could look behind the subject, and it fascinated me, and I fell in love with this effect. And since then, it's about, when did I realize it? Maybe 12 years ago, I fell in love with this effect. And from that on, I tried to figure out how is it possible, and I always thought that it is only possible with large sensors like digital medium format or analog medium format cameras. But it's not, and this is a good thing and a bad thing, because so no one knows how to achieve this effect completely. It's not clear. But that was what made me interested and fell in love with this effect. Next question. How was the journey on finding lenses? Have you been surprised or surprised or disappointments along the way? Well, the progress of finding these lenses or cameras, it's a bit difficult, and you have to learn a lot about what might give you the effect. There are some technical aspects to it you have to look up, like cross-sections of lenses to understand, and if you want to learn about this, give Dirty Photography Club a visit on YouTube. But you have to find cross-sections and the specs. You have to understand what complex groups are, dispersion and ED glass, spherical glass or special glass that Zeiss puts into their lenses. And you have to understand that the Zeiss 3D pop that they, well, advertise with is not exclusively something that Zeiss gives us, and you will learn that there are old lenses that will give you this effect. Modern lenses maybe don't. And you will learn something about low element counts, simplicity of design, and all these things. So these are all aspects to that. And the journey is very, very, very complex and fun. And what was the rest? Let me check. It was... Has there been any surprises? Yes. There have been some surprises and also disappointments. One disappointment is shooting me right now. It's the Zeiss Batis. I believed it to have 3D pop when I first shot it. It had a medium format look to it on the A7S that is shooting me right now also. It had almost like a medium format look, but it's not the 3D pop that is meant by that, because other lenses like the Fuji 35mm 1.4R, they have such, I cannot even describe it how good it looks, even though it's an APS-C sensor. So this was kind of a surprise for me, even though the technical aspects and the cross-section of this lens, well, they suggested 3D pop. And another surprise was the Nikon 50mm f1.2s. This lens is amazing and has so much pop, and it's almost like a Voigtlander. Last question in this position, because I cannot dodge any longer. A lot of people talk about what contributes most to 3D pop. Micro contrast, design, sensor size, lighting. What's your take on the key ingredients? Oh, well, it's a nice one, right? It's a nice question. So, as I tried to describe in a lot of videos so far, it is a combination of all of these things, right? The lighting is very important to suggest to our brain that there is some depth to it, right? It's just painting with light, what photography is. So we suggest our brain, well, this tree is behind this flower or something like that. But you can achieve this with background blur. But background blur does not contribute that much to the 3D pop. Instead, I made, in my experience, if the aperture is closed a bit, you will see the effect even more. So the separation is not 3D pop. Background blur is no 3D pop. It's just background blur, and you are separated from the background, but it's not the same. The most important factor of the ingredients, I cannot, it's all ingredient, right? Micro contrast, lens design, sensor size, and lighting. I think most important is the lens design in addition to the sensor size. These two, but on the other hand, we talked about the Fuji APS-C and the Fuji 35, it has definitely 3D pop. So on the other hand, in theory, the Nikon full frame with the Nikkor 50 1.2s should not give us 3D pop because it has no micro contrast, but it does. So I cannot answer this question right now, because if I would know, then there would be no need to look for the effect anymore, because I would know which lenses and which cameras will have it. But I cannot know. All right, we change perspective. Are we in focus? To go on. All right, next question. Share a specific lens or setup you've used that really delivered that pop, and what made it stand out? Wow. All right, so the Sony A7S with the Zeiss 55 1.8 produces 3D pop, no doubt about that. The Mamiya RB67 and the Sekor 90 produce 3D pop, no doubt about that. The Helios 58 f2, the 44.2 version, produces 3D pop. on the Sony A7S and on the Fuji X-T3. No doubt about that. If I want to take pictures that will definitely give me 3D pop, I would choose one of these combinations, or the Fuji with the 35mm 1.4. It's a definite winner. So size 55 on the Sony A7S, 35mm Fuji on the Fuji X-T3, X-T4 X-Trend sensor, or you go analog medium format with the Mamiya RB67 in a Seiko lens. So if I really need 3D pop, Helios, Seiko, Fuji, or the size 55 1.8. Clear winners. Next question. Yes. Are there any myths or misunderstandings about 3D pop where I think that people get it wrong? Yes, there are. Most people, I've looked into forums and so on, and most people think and believe that the separation, they say, well, yes, no, you're wrong. The Sigma 58mm, or what? No, that's not 58. The Sigma 85mm has definitely pop. Or the, I don't know, the Tamron 24-70 has 3D pop. Of course, look at this picture. And what I see is a person in focus standing out from the background because the background is blurred and not in focus. This is a misconception. This is not what 3D pop is. 3D pop does not depend on the amount of background blur. I got an old lens, it's a Carl Zeiss Jena 50mm 2.8, and this lens is from 1954 or something. This lens is not particularly fast with its 2.8 aperture, but it produces 3D pop, of course. Simple design, I think it's 5 elements even, and it gives us 3D pop. But the misconception, I think the most common misconception about 3D pop is that something or someone pops out of the picture because it is in focus and the background is not. But this is not what 3D pop is about. With 3D pop, there's something to it that you cannot always describe for real. You just see it, and some people don't even see it. So, but you just see it and feel it, then you know it is there or not. Next question. How does achieving this look affect the storage and emotional impact of your content? That's just technical flex. What does it serve a deeper purpose for me? Well, nice question, by the way. No, it's not a flex. Someone said that 3D pop is a luxurious good in the modern photography, and he's right. But it's not a flex. It's not like, oh well, look at me, I got the 3D pop lens and I can produce video or photo with 3D pop, because most of the time it's the old lenses that will give us 3D pop and not the new ones. So they are cheap, relatively cheap. You can get them very cheap. So it's not a flex or something, yeah? It's not a flex to have 3D pop. It's an aesthetic that some people love and others do not even see. And the people who love this effect, who want this effect to feel that their video or photo is alive, that know what I'm talking about, that is something wrapped around it. These people know what I'm talking about, and these people know that this is neither a flex nor a technical finesse that you really need. It's just something that you want, and you do not even know exactly why. Am I right? I am. And does it serve a deeper purpose? Well, the deeper purpose of this is, yes, it's for my aesthetic feeling, and I want this aesthetic feeling. It's the same. Does it serve a deeper purpose for you if you lit some scented candles in your house? People say, yes, of course, it smells good. See? That's the deeper purpose. You could live in your house without these candles. But why should you? You want your house to smell like this candle. And I want my pictures to look like that. Next question. It's about gear. Are you more drawn to vintage lenses, modern high-end optics, or a mix of both when chasing that look? Why? You see, modern lenses more often than not cannot and will not produce 3D pop. I am sometimes surprised when I see a modern lens like Sigma 16 1.4, and I guess that there is something to it. It technically, theoretically, it cannot be, but sometimes I think there is. It depends on the lighting situation or how the lines in the background, how they narrow down, you see. If there is a long way, a long road, and you're standing there and these lines they go together, you know, then you might think that you see it because your brain, it perceives it as something that has depth. But the lens itself cannot give it that. So the more modern the lenses, or the more technically finessed the lenses, the less micro contrast it will give you, because your images will be clinical sharp, high of contrast, and it looks so good. The images look fantastic. But high contrast means less micro contrast, you know. If I want to achieve the effect, there are few modern lenses that can provide this, and some are cheap, like the TT Artisan lenses. I think they got it, at least on some sensors, and we will figure out why. And older lenses, more often than not, will give you this effect. There are some old lenses that do not have it, some have it. To find out, well, Oreston lenses or Oreston design lenses, they tend to not have it that much. Old Nikkor lenses tend to have it pretty good, or all Carl Zeiss lenses, right? So I would use, well, they're not convenient, but I would use vintage lenses. But in the purpose of usability, I would tend to use more modern lenses, like the Zeiss 55 1.8. This is not a vintage lens. It's a bit older, but still, it got what I need. Next question. Some people say 3D Pop mimics how we naturally perceive depth in real life. Do you think that's accurate? Yes, I do. Yes, I actually do. There are, and I tried to describe it in some of my videos, that it is so true to the eye. It's true to life. You see, when we see the world, our brain suggests us the third dimension, because there is no third dimension. We have two eyes, we can only see flat. But our brain suggests that it is otherwise. And our brain does this by micro contrasts and by how the light falls, shadows, and so on. Yes? And if you look at modern lens pictures or modern sensor pictures, or even smartphone pictures, they are all flat. You cannot see any depth in it. This is just flat. So you look at these pictures and your brain will tell you, this is a flat image, this is flat. So the roses are on the exact same depth as my garden door, for example, right? It's not a door, but you know what I mean. I'm not a native speaker. So, but if there is something on this picture that suggests to my brain that the path actually goes for 20 meters, then you have achieved this effect. And I forgot what the question was. The question was, it mimics naturally perceived depth in real life. Yes. So the answer is yes. I think the 3D effect is what we actually see. It is so true to our eye that we perceive this picture or video as vivid, as alive, and not as sterile. It's not clinically dead. It's not a painting. It is true to life. So what our eyes would see. Last question. If someone's new to photography or videography and hears 3D Pop for the first time, what advice would you give them on how to start seeing and creating it? Well, if you're new to photography actually, and you, why would you even try to get the 3D Pop effect without knowing something about photography or videography? So I think you would not even know what it is that you see in the picture, and you would not even question it, because you would not know what to look for, and you would not know why and how and what it is. Give your mother, for example, a camera and let her shoot. And I did this. I not only gave my mother cameras, but I also showed her pictures that had such an amount of 3D Pop. She could not see it. She didn't see the difference because her focus was on something else. It was on the subject and not on the surrounding effect. You see? It's like you love your roses, so you do not care if it's raining or if the sun shines, but you are focused on your roses, and the rest, it's not that important, you see? So if you're new to photography, I do not think that it is important to have the 3D Pop effect, because you would not even see it. You would not even realize, because your focus would not be on that matter. If it would be on that matter, then I would suggest you buy some old lenses. You buy some old lenses, try to get your contrast and focus right, and then you compare these lenses with the kit lens that you bought when you bought your camera. Because if you start photography, it's unlikely that you will have a camera where you buy your lenses separately. Most people start with a small camera that has a lens on, a kit lens, and that's okay. And this is fine. I did so too when I started. Well, actually not. Actually, when I started, I was 5 years old. I got a plastic camera. It was 1991 when I was 5 years old. And this plastic camera, well, I believe that even the lens was made out of plastic. But if you are getting into photography and you get your camera with interchangeable lens system, which I would suggest, then buy some old lenses. Take the same pictures with the old lenses and with the modern lens that came with the camera, or if you got a modern lens, try it out. Then you will start to see a difference in how it feels. And if you have a talent and if you have an eye for photography, then you will eventually see the effect at some point. That's all I can say about that. All right, that's it for now. These were some questions that I've been asked, and I wanted to make a short video about these questions with the answers accordingly. So, see you in the next one.